Picture this, a product tied to close to 3 million deaths every year, a product linked to more than 200 diseases. And if alcohol were invented today, brand new, hitting the market for the first time, modern safety standards would almost certainly classify it as illegal. And yet, you can still buy it at the grocery store. Yep, alcohol. It is the most socially accepted, mind-altering drug on Earth. It shows up at weddings, birthdays, ball games, business dinners, basically anywhere adults gather and pretend they are relaxed. We do not just allow it. We celebrate it. We toast with it. We treat it like a symbol of good times. So why has it not been banned? And the real answer is not simply because people like drinking. This goes way deeper than taste or tradition. It is a story that starts with evolution, yes, your biology, then runs through government crackdowns that backfired spectacularly, and ends with an economic trap so massive that no country wants to be the one to break it. Welcome to Simple but Surprising Channel. Today we are unpacking the surprising history behind a simple question. Why is alcohol not banned? So if we are asking why alcohol is basically impossible to ban, we have to back up and ask a simpler question first. Why do humans want it so badly? Because it is not like alcohol is some universal delicious flavor. Most people's first sip is more like, wait, why does this taste like mouthwash? So what is the real hook? There is a real scientific idea here, and it has an incredible name, the Drunken Monkey Hypothesis. It sounds like a meme, but it is trying to explain something very human. Why our brains do not treat alcohol like a random chemical, but like something strangely familiar. A few million years ago, our primate ancestors were basically fruit hunters. Not for fun, more like find enough calories today or you do not make it. And fruit has this built-in trick. When it gets really ripe, soft, overripe, almost mushy, it starts to ferment. Yeast on the skin eats the sugar and produces ethanol. Same ethanol, same alcohol. And fermentation does not just change the fruit, it changes the air. That sweet, boozy smell carries through the trees, which means you do not have to see the food. You can follow it. For survival, that is everything. So picture two hungry primates. One walks right past that fermented scent. The other follows it, finds the ripest fruit, gets more calories, more energy, and survives long enough to pass that preference on. Over time, you do not need a love of getting buzzed. You just need a brain that learns that smell usually means food. That is the whole point. Back then, alcohol was not party fuel. It was a shortcut to calories. And your body still acts like it. Humans are unusually good at processing alcohol compared to most animals. It is like your system sees ethanol and goes, oh yeah, I know this. So when you drink, your brain does not treat it like nothing. It hits the reward circuit. Dopamine shows up, the same remember this, it matters signal that helped your ancestors keep track of the best food, which is why alcohol does not just taste like a drink. It feels like a yes. So when people say, just ban alcohol, they are imagining it is like banning a trendy product. But it is not only a product. Trying to ban it means fighting something tied to millions of years of evolution, an ancient reward circuit that does not care what the law says. And once humans moved from forests into villages and cities, alcohol did not fade away. It got upgraded. We learned how to make it on purpose, store it, trade it, build rituals around it. It became social glue, sometimes comfort, sometimes escape, and sometimes a real mess. Crashes, fights, ruined families. That is when government stepped in and said, okay, this is getting out of hand. They tried, and the results were not what they expected. They tried. And the first time a major government went all in on banning alcohol, the plan sounded almost wholesome. America, early 1920s. A lot of people truly believed this was the clean fix. Alcohol was tied to poverty, violence, workplace injuries, broken homes. So remove alcohol and you remove the mess. Neat, moral, done. So the US passed prohibition. For a moment, it looked like it might work. Then real life did what it always does. It adapted. People did not quit drinking. They just changed where it happened. Bars did not vanish, they went underground. A soda shop with a back room, a restaurant with a hidden door, a private club that somehow had endless liquor. As soon as alcohol went illegal, it stopped being a normal product. It became a business opportunity. Not for licensed store owners, for the people who did not mind breaking the law. That is where organized crime steps in. If you control supply, you control cash. And when there is serious money on the table, arguments do not end with a refund. They end with threats, bribes, and gunfire. Police get bought, courts get pressured, the government is not cleaning up society anymore, it is playing catch up against a market it created. And it was not just crime, it was quality. When production moves off the books, safety standards do not come along for the ride. People made their own alcohol at home. Some of it was fine, some of it was poison. Bathtub gin was not a funny nickname. It was a warning label. Eventually, the US gave up and repealed prohibition. But here is the twist. Other governments watched the disaster and still thought, okay, but we can do it smarter. Which brings us to a sequel that is less famous and honestly, almost unbelievable. The Soviet Union, 1985. Mikhail Gorbachev launches a massive anti-alcohol campaign, and to be fair, he had real reasons. Alcohol abuse was crushing productivity, wrecking families, and shortening lives. So he clamps down. Stores shut, sales get restricted. In some areas, vineyards were even destroyed. The message was clear. This ends now. At first, some health numbers improved. People lived longer, it looked like a win. Then the side effects kicked in. Because people did not stop wanting alcohol, they got inventive. When legal vodka disappears, you do not get a country of teetotalers. You get home distillers, kitchen brews, shed setups, the occasional bathtub situation. And when millions of people start doing that at the same time, the economy starts to do weird things. One of the strangest, sugar shortages. Regular sugar, plain, boring sugar started disappearing from shelves. Not because everyone suddenly got into baking, because sugar is the easiest fuel for homemade alcohol. People bought it in bulk. Lines formed. Shelves went empty. Everyday life got more annoying fast. Meanwhile, the government took a hit where it could not afford one: revenue. In the Soviet Union, vodka was not just a social problem. It was a cash machine for the state. When legal sales collapsed, a huge chunk of government income went with it. And now you have got the worst combo: public frustration, illegal booze of questionable safety, and a budget that is springing leaks. People even started mocking Gorbachev with nicknames about mineral water, like he was the leader who replaced vodka with plain water, whether anyone asked for that or not. And history makes the lesson painfully clear. You cannot use law to erase a human craving. All you can do is push it underground. Push it underground, and the next problem shows up fast, because a brutal rule kicks in the moment you ban something popular. Crack down harder, and what people get does not disappear. It gets more dangerous. That pattern has a name. Economists call it the Iron Law of Prohibition. And it is basically this: the harder you ban something, the stronger and riskier the version people end up using. Because once something is illegal, the whole game changes. It is no longer about what tastes good or what people casually sip. It is about what is easiest to hide, move, and sell. Think like a smuggler for a second. If you are taking a huge risk every time you transport alcohol, you are not going to haul a truckload of weak beer that takes forever to get someone drunk. You want the most effect in the smallest space. Less volume, more punch. That is exactly what happened during Prohibition in the US. People did not stop drinking, they shifted. Beer and light stuff became less practical, strong liquor became the smarter black market product. Same demand, tighter laws, higher potency. And the potency is not even the scariest part. The scary part is what happens when the legal supply chain disappears. Legal alcohol has a paper trail, standards, inspections, ingredient rules. Illegal alcohol has none. Once it is underground, the safety net is gone, and you are trusting a basement batch made with equipment you would not even wash dishes in. And when people make alcohol the wrong way or cut corners to stretch profit, one mistake can produce methanol, which is not a stronger buzz. It is poison. It can blind you. It can kill you. So banning alcohol does not create a world with less harm. It often creates a world with more concentrated alcohol, made in riskier conditions, with consequences that show up in emergency rooms instead of bar tabs. That is why a lot of countries eventually land on an uncomfortable compromise. If people are going to drink anyway, the least bad option is to keep it above ground, where you can regulate it, test it, label it, and at least reduce the number of people getting wiped out by mystery liquid in an unmarked bottle. And that leads to the next reason alcohol never really disappears. Because even when governments hate what alcohol does to society, they also love what alcohol does to their budget. Because here is the part nobody loves to admit. Alcohol doubles as a funding source. In a lot of countries, it falls under what politicians politely call sin taxes. The pitch is simple. People are going to drink anyway, so the state taxes it and uses that money for schools, roads, and public programs, without touching income taxes and lighting up everyone's blood pressure. But that creates a weird loop. Alcohol causes real damage. Hospitals see it, families live with it, employers pay for it in missed shifts and accidents. And the same system that is dealing with the fallout is also collecting billions from the sale. That is the Golden Handcuff. Shiny, profitable, still a cuff, because banning alcohol is not a bold moral statement. It is also a budget cliff. You pull the plug and a chunk of revenue vanishes overnight, then you have got to replace it fast. There is no magical free money line item sitting around. So the options get ugly. Raise taxes elsewhere, cut services, or do some combination that makes voters furious. Then there are the jobs. Alcohol is not one neat little industry. It is a chain reaction. Farmers growing grapes and grains, truckers hauling shipments, bottling plants, distributors, restaurants and bars that rely on drink sales to stay afloat, whole regions where tourism revolves around breweries, wineries, and distilleries. Shut it down and you do not just cancel happy hour. You shake a lot of paychecks. So imagine you are a politician staring at this mess. People still want it, bans tend to create black markets, underground alcohol gets stronger and riskier, and the legal version is propping up parts of the economy and the national budget. In that situation, ban it stops sounding clean. It starts sounding like a self-made crisis. So most countries settle into the least dramatic option. Keep it legal, control it, tax it, slap warning labels on it, run public health campaigns, and try, keyword try, to keep the damage from exploding. That does not make alcohol harmless. It means the alternative often looks worse. And that is the answer to the original question. Alcohol survives because it sits right at the intersection of three forces that are brutally hard to beat: biology, history, and money. Your brain is wired to want it. Governments have tried to outlaw it and watched it backfire, and the revenue has become something the system quietly counts on. So the next time you walk past that alcohol aisle in the grocery store, it is worth seeing it for what it really is. A compromise society made and never fully escaped. If you like these hidden histories behind everyday things, hit like, subscribe to Simple But Surprising channel, and drop a comment. Should alcohol be treated more like tobacco, or does it belong in its own category? See you next time.